option to. They have done that, and they've done the crazy things, right? They've left the Varus open. This time, Vitality is trying to shut that down. Vitality chose the red side for themselves, so this is going to throw a little bit of a wrench into the plans here of Mad Lions. I'm curious to see how they adapt on the blue side.
Well, we'll see if they get one of those power picks. Could be left through the draft, of course. With the Thresh being banned, we usually see Varus, Syndra removed as well. Yuumi is usually taken away at this point as well.
Yeah, and I really think the question of like what's better, blue side or red side, is an interesting one, because a lot of people will say with so many super powerful ADC or bot lane picks that need to be banned away on the red side, you'd think blue side is really, really good. But what teams are going for over on red side is trying to get that support counter pick, trying to get the really strong bot lane option for themselves, and that usually leads into things like controlling early game dragons, which seeks to, you know, speed you up into the elemental drakes and the souls and all that stuff. It's good. It's good.
And you can see Mad Lions like, okay, you want to try and get a support counter pick? Well, we'll get rid of two of the strongest supports in the game right now. They remove the Thresh, they take away the Lulu. Yuumi is still open. Vitality will get rid of the Varus themselves, not willing to do a Mad Lions and leave that one open for first pick.
So we're looking at like the Kallistas now, right? Syndra's still open here. So Vitality seems like they might just want to go for a bit of a trade here with some of those power picks down bot side. I mean, in theory, they could try to leave something like the Yuumi open if you think Mad Lions are going to be going for the Syndra themselves, if you want to hand that over. But the power of the flexibility of that champion seems like it's a must ban on the red side.
Yeah, and the trade we usually see here is Syndra ban perhaps into Aphelios Ezreal, right? But it's going to be Callista taken away. So Aphelios, Ezreal, Yuumi, and Syndra all available here, and they've all been very strong picks throughout the course of the 2 weeks we've had.
I mean, it's got to be a Syndra first pick, right? Like, we know how good Humanoid has been performing so far in this split. No doubt Carzzy could try to lock that one in down towards the bottom lane as well. And what that means to me, right, if Mad Lions are going to lock that in, is Vitality, they still needed to ban the Callista because they're scared of that still going into the mid lane for Humanoid, which of course makes things a little bit difficult for them. And now Vitality looking at something like that Yuumi Ezreal for the bot side to try and soak up some of the burst damage. You know, if you can run the exhaust and drop that onto the Syndra, that can help you out, but usually we see Syndra paired up with like a Nautilus, and that can be really hard to disengage.
Yeah, the ability just to lock someone down or even use the Scat of the Week to get the initial stun off. I did just have a quick look, and it actually looks like whenever Mad Lions have got Syndra this year, it has gone to Carzzy in the bottom lane. Humanoid has yet to play it this year. Of course, it is an incredibly strong pick, and every mid laner knows how to play Syndra, but wouldn't be surprised at all if that is locked in for Carzzy. And there is the Trundle and the Yuumi for Team Vitality. So not prioritizing the Aphelios or the Ezreal alongside that Yuumi, instead saying we want a strong jungler.
Yeah, and that sort of speaks to the idea that, yeah, Carzzy's been the one playing this more often than not. Vitality think they can snag themselves that really strong Trundle and then go ahead and go for the third pick Ezreal. But of course, Mad Lions say, no, we're happy to mix things up, deny the pairing right there. And we've seen the difference between Yuumi plus Ezreal and Yuumi plus any other ADC down in the bot lane. There is quite a gap, and that's why I really like this pivot now from the Mad Lions.
I'm kind of debating what Mad Lions want to do here, because you could look for something like the Nautilus, get something that can catch that Yuumi out in the bottom lane, or you could give Shadow
it's like, did you forget Shadow's on this team? Whenever Shadow's playing, if Lee Sin's up, he's probably going for that champion. It's going to look really good for him. Speaking about the junglers real quick, one ban we didn't touch on too much was actually the Gragas over on the side of Mad Lions. That's because Vitality have gone for like the Gragas plus Sion top side a couple times around, so nice to see that Vitality need to mix things up based on those bans. But now with a Kaiser coming through, this is a little bit strange to me, in all honesty, because you see a Syndra over on the other side. Kaiser, a pretty low-range ADC, can run into a lot of trouble with the range of, you know, Syndra stun and, of course, her burst damage. But there is the potential that later on in the game, you know, this is probably going to be the AP Kaiser build. You can find yourself a Zhonya's Hourglass, which gives you a nice itemization counter up against the Syndra, but definitely not the easiest thing to do when you're trying to team fight against a 1 or 2 item Syndra.
Is an AD carry that teams up really well with the Yuumi as well, though, of course. You know, Ardent Sensor for the attack speed buff, the extra healing. You can reposition the final chapter in the middle of team fights as well, because the Kaiser can use her ult to reposition the Yuumi ult. So I like the synergy there, but I agree with you. Picking Kaiser into a Syndra is always going to be a bit risky, and into a Lee Sin, who can get behind you pretty easily and kick you into the team. The Leona will be removed by Team Vitality. Mad Lions getting rid of some of those strong mid laners, the LeBlanc, Wouldn't be surprised to see an Azir band away here just because Milica has played it so much.
Yeah, it's strong mid laners, and it's also relatively safe mid laners too, and you consider like LeBlanc can sort of pop back. Because when Mad Lions lock in a Syndra and a Lee Sin, if I'm that Lee Sin, I want to live in mid lane. Syndra offers really sick gank assist even before she unlocks that level 6 ultimates. That's a smart band there. The Ornn too, maybe trying to open up a stronger top lane matchup for Orome, because usually if you're playing Lee Sin, you're probably not playing around the Ezreal lane, and it's going to be more focused on your solos.
Okay.
Oh!
Wait, what?
No, this is actually going to be mid lane Nautilus up against the Syndra. So one thing I've heard a lot of people talking about actually is that Syndra is weak into tanks in the mid lane, right? And I think we've seen like Ornn way back in the day, but if you just build some MR, she can't threaten that 100-0 burst on you, and all of a sudden she looks way weaker. Also, when you combine a Trundle pillar plus the insane CC options of a Nautilus, this can try to turn around the tides of that middle lane if NG involves himself early.
That's a really interesting pick. Of course, another tank in the mid lane could have been the Scion. Once again, for Cabo, could have rotated that towards mid, but instead they're going to say, okay, we'll take that Nautilus. Bard is locked in for Kaiser in the bottom lane. He's yet to play this split, but even with the nerfs on 10-11, I believe Bard is still a relatively strong pick in my mind, and they'll round it out with a Gangplank in the top lane. Compositionally, this is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see a different look for Mad Lions, because so many of their games have been going for these like really hard dive, engage style compositions with a lot of melee champions that just want to hard commit towards the enemy backline. But this time around, they're saying we actually want to play with the longer range spells, you know, the non-committal engage effects of a Bard or, you know, a Gangplank ultimate. This is going to be a harder composition to execute for the Mad Lions, but if they do it well in this match, all of a sudden we have another, you know, chapter in the playbook, and Mad Lions continue to look more formidable.
It's what we wanted to see from Mad Lions for this season. More adaptation, play around Orome every now and again, and they are showing us that they have more in their quiver than just that single style we saw in spring. Vitality, on the other hand, played around with a few things, taking some lessons from FPX, bringing Doinby in the mid lane, apparently. His name is Milica on the screen, but we can only hope that we get the quality of Nautilus mid that we saw in the World Final last year. They did round it out with a Sett in the top lane for Cabochard, and we'll see how effective he can be on that, because he has been having a stellar split so far. I believe we are just about ready to get on into the action. It's going to be Mad Lions versus Team Vitality for the third game of today. And on to Summoner's Rift we go once again. Mad Lions with a bit of a unique playbook here. And I want to talk specifically about Orome in the top lane on this Gangplank and Cabochard on the Sett, because there's a very interesting choice here on this Sett ender.
Yeah, of course, what you're looking at right now is going to be the Hail of Blades on the Sett in the top lane. I did some digging once I saw this locked in, and I checked. In solo queue, Cabochard has actually played this before, because the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, is this a specific thing into the Gangplank matchup? Well, he's actually run this Hail of Blades into a Wukong before in solo queue. Clearly a very lane-focused style, because you already know Sett gets the powerful 1-2 punch, but with Hail of Blades increasing the attack speed for your first 3 auto attacks, you can try to cycle that into 2 very quick cycles. I guess that's 4 punches in a row right there with the bonus attack speed coming through. So I really like this, especially if NG is looking to play through his solo lanes, which we expect to see here, because with the CC coming down onto Orome, that is a ton of burst damage here with the Sett.
Whenever I see a Sett, all I can think of is Saitama from One Punch Man. It's like series of consecutive punches, super serious consecutive punches. And when you take Hail of Blades, it's even more consecutive punches, and that just means more damage and more building building up of that passive, as you say. You can actually get 6 teamed up pretty quickly if you go auto reset with the Tiamat. So we'll see what Cabochard decides to itemize in this top lane. However, mid lane is somewhere else we should focus, because there is a Nautilus mid for Milica against a player that has been performing exceptionally well so far this split.
Yeah, I think Humanoid has just had a phenomenal performance. You even saw after his game yesterday, he drew a first ban Orianna here up against Vitality. His Orianna looked absolutely insane. You all look at the play where he survived on 1 HP, but his ultimates have been on point. He's been dominating inside of the laning phase. Like, you don't get CS difference numbers like that if you're not playing well early on and solo. And this, of course, you say it's going to be an easy matchup. He's going to be pushing in. It's going to be fine for the time being, but Humanoid is definitely a guy we have to keep our eyes on.
And he's a guy I've been wondering about as well, because after that Orianna performance yesterday, I think I wanted to ask the question, is Humanoid a top 3 mid in the LEC? I don't think we have an answer here on the caster desk. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but you guys can vote in chat and give us your opinion. Vote yes if you think he is, vote no if you think he's not.
Yeah.
Who else is above him? You can't type that, we don't have...
You can type, but we just won't be able to...
Ender will get Twitch chat up on his phone. Pepe laugh.
Our machines won't be able to understand you, though. That's the unfortunate reality. See, that was really interesting right there, because while we're talking about Humanoid, he actually got the push in mid lane and then started walking up to try and attempt a red buff invade and force NG out of his jungle. It was not successful in the end. I do believe NG did end up finishing off that red and is now positioned to take the top lane Scuttlecrab, which is exactly what Vitality want here in the early game. Again, we already said, looking at some of the rune choices and just the champion matchups, Vitality want to focus on hitting mid lane and top lane, but Mad Lions are here first.
Shadow forces the flash out from Milica. Kaiser was roaming up. Bard, of course, very speedy on his way across the map with that magical journey. Forces Milica to burn a summon.
Oh, hello.
He's facing straight on into this and will force Shadow away. Looks like it's a pretty even division here between yes and no for Humanoid being a top 3 mid. I think I'd probably side on the side of yes myself.
Yeah, I mean, after his performance so far, you have to put him up there. Like, who else are you really considering, right? Like, Caps is obviously going to be up there. Febvin has had a great start of the split, and then I would sort of think Humanoid, right? With
Humanoid and Larson, I think, would be up there. Larson has had an easier strength of schedule so far, slightly easier opponents, but...
Not going to be that easy in their next game, though.
No,
so.
no,
but we'll, of course, get to that. I also do want to say that Vitality's bot lane coming in clutch there for NG, so he's able to get both Scuttlecrabs off of the map and sort of shut down Shadow in this early game. Shadow is still ahead in experience because NG's been running around the map for a long time, but eventually that will sort of even out here as NG does find his way through more camps. But I think he's been doing fairly well so far. He would love to have Flash on Milica in mid lane, because I think without Nautilus having Flash, actually executing on a kill towards mid is going to be a lot harder, especially because Humanoid has the phase rush, which I do think is a nice pivot here in his rune setup to make sure he can get away from these melee divers that want to jump on his face.
I think the force of will is just so powerful on Syndra versus Nautilus as well, because even if he starts to hit the hook, as long as you've buffered it, you can just knock him away, make it a lot harder for them to close that gap. And Trundle with his puller can do something, but Humanoid still has a flash of his own to get away if needs be. Across the board, things are pretty even though here, Ender. 5 minutes in, Cabochard is going to look to see which camps have been claimed, puts a ward on the Grump, and Shadow will try and sneak around it. But unsuspecting.
Not that sneaky.
Yeah, he's not. He's not. His name would be Ninja otherwise.
It's true, it's true. He uses energy, but he's not a ninja. I'm honestly a little surprised to see that the game has sort of been slow. NG was very focused on getting those Scuttlecrabs instead of like trying to hard divide the map down the middle, especially because like Cabochard was pushing top lane. It made it a little bit more difficult to look for a gank there. At the same time, I will say I have loved how Kaiser has moved around the map. He's showing himself in mid lane now. There's not really a gank to be had, but that level 2, level 3 roam towards mid lane to get Milica's flash was very, very nice and could set up for a kill in the next couple minutes, because Humanoid's going to hit 6 in the next minute. Shadow just ticked over to 5 as well, and once Shadow gets his ultimate, you get a good angle around that Trundle, maybe, or around the Nautilus. Maybe even Bard helps you out with the portal, and that should be easy kills.
And I think you see there as well in the river just how difficult it is to lock down a Bard, because even though he's roaming everywhere to try and get his charms, you're like, oh, we can collapse, we can shut them down. You really don't have a huge amount of easy CC on the side of Vitality. You've got a Trundle pillar. You have a final chapter when you're level 6 on the Yuumi. You've got Sett, who can get there, but he's all the way up in top lane now. And Milica is being forced back in mid lane because Syndra has the wave push early on. So very difficult for this fight to happen. Kaiser flashed forward there, looking for the binding, but wasn't able to land it. Milica's going to come in from the side as well. NG has Labrov sitting on his shoulder and actually takes the journey that Kaiser set up for him, but Kaiser gets the flank off, and Milica will be the first to fall. First blood goes to Shadow.
That was the most awkward series of events I have ever seen right there.
Wait, did you not watch game 1?
Oh no. Oh no. That was really funny because like obviously Kaiser's flashing forward trying to pick off NG and then NG's like, Milica, get over here, help me out. He's like, wait, no, I actually just have a portal. Oh, Milica, you don't have flash? Sorry, man, you're dead now. So Mad Lions end up getting the kill, and that converts into a Drake as well, which is going to be very good news for them too here. So slight misstep there from NG getting caught in the river, and Mad Lions will capitalize.
I'm gonna, after we'll watch this.
Sure.
And then I have a cool point about Bard.
Okay.
I'm gonna watch this first.
So, Kaiser, he goes for the flash. He wants to hit the Scuttle Crab and NG, but it didn't continue. Did it hit?
I think it goes wide.
Okay, it went wide.
Might be wrong.
There were a lot of particles right there with Yuumi, you know, flying circles around NG, and then, of course, just picks up the same portal, because originally Kaiser was going to go through that one, and NG will walk his way on out of there. Maybe if the portal's not there, NG has to blow a flash too, but I think Mad Lions are pretty preoccupied with that Nautilus, and kill going over to Shadow will get him towards that Warrior Sooner.
So Kaiser's roaming once again.
Yes.
And I was wondering, how is he so free to do this? Because Bard is one of the best roaming supports in the game because you have your portals, right? But usually you have to worry a little bit about your AD carry. Now, in this case, he really doesn't. Firstly, because it's Ezreal, so
yeah,
he can arcane shift away from anything. Secondly, there's literally no CC coming out from the bot lane of Vitality. Like, it's like, what are you going to do? Prowling projectile me? Oh no, I just jump away. What are you going to do? Use a Cathian Rain? Oh no, I just jump away. It's so safe for Carzzy in the bot lane, and although he's slightly behind in CS, the roaming that Kaiser is able to do just unlocks so much for Mad Lions.
Yeah, and Vitality, I do not think have approached that Rift Herald correctly right there, because Mad Lions, and really Kaiser, reset early while Carzzy was still in the bot lane. Well, Carzzy has TP to get up here as well. Vitality tried to contest around the Rift Herald, try to say like, hey, maybe we can like force you off this something. They're not strong enough to do that. They didn't have the time to actually get over there and make that happen, so they're going to end up trading the Rift Herald for nothing instead of 2 turret plates on the bottom side. Instead of continuing to farm up with comp, it could have been a legitimate CS advantage for comp based on the map movements of Carzzy and Kaiser, but because Vitality tried to contest around the Herald, they don't take the trade, and that I think is a mistake that is plaguing so many of our teams right now. They aren't aware of the timings, and they end up giving up a Herald for nothing in return.
And a Herald has to be used effectively as well for it to be worth it, right? Like you are giving up time by deciding you want to go for it, and we always say we'll see what happens with this Herald, because if you don't get plates with it, if you don't even get any damage on the tower, it's just not worth it. You're wasting time. But if the enemy team also wastes their time trying to fight you at it, then it's only beneficial for you. So we'll see exactly how Shadow wants to use that. I know you are a strong proponent of using it in mid lane.
Yes.
Opening up the mid lane, especially against wave clear mids, which Nautilus kind of is.
Once he gets his Proto Belt, he's going to have the wave clear. Yeah, by the way, Nautilus probably going to build Proto Belt in this game. If you haven't tuned in to see AP or mid lane Nautilus recently, usually it is going to be a couple of AP items followed up by then the tank purchases, but because he has the Aftershock, he gets so many like upfront resistances that it's really hard for Syndra to actually move him out of this lane. Although, as you can see, Humanoid doing a very good job so far, building up quite the CS lead.
It's actually quite similar to Fiddlesticks mid, which we saw from Bjergsen yesterday, right? Like you
Don't remind me.
Hey, look, it was quite fun to watch, okay? I know Fiddle's meant to be a jungler, but watching him be played in the mid lane and never taking any damage was enjoyable. Unless you were an Immortals fan.
Sure. I think that Fiddle mid didn't like just built like full tank too. It was like wasn't even worried about the Proto Belt.
Spirit Visage first into Glacial Shroud. It was who needs to actually do damage when all of your abilities just...
Is it a problem when Nautilus is building more AP than Fiddlesticks? I don't know.
It's a debate. I'm sure there were magicians in Atlantis, okay? I'm sure they have some sort of magic. Nautilus this is the Atlantis...
Oh, okay. I was really lost right there. Shadow looking for a play, but he doesn't have a ward because he has a Herald.
Oh, that is... he's got control.
He's got a controller.
You're right. Warded it.
That's true.
But what's happening right now is Mad have push in top lane, Mad have push in mid lane, and Mad have push in bot lane. And they're just opening up these plates. They have 1,500 gold lead because of the pressure they're putting on. And you can see Orome is actually going to get his second plate. Oh, didn't quite get the second plate there, I don't believe, in the bottom lane. But it's just so much free in inverted commas gold because Vitality aren't finding a way to stop Mad from finding this gold.
For sure. And it's just going to continue, it feels like, because we've got Mountain Drake coming up in 40 seconds, and with the advantage that Mad Lions have already accrued, like, they're going to be the ones going over there. And Humanoid has now hit level 9 on the Syndra, means his Q is going to be fully maxed, gets that bonus damage. It's going to be very, very nice for him for any sort of fight inside of the river, because it's such a spammable ability. There's 3 melee champions and then a Kaiser on Vitality's face comp, so very low range. It's going to be quite easy to stack those up and start to shred through this, frankly, pretty weak front line at the moment from Vitality.
And just going to get jumped on here by Shadow. But the healing from the Zoomies is a little bit too strong. Shadow's going to go in, though, with a flash kick. There's no one really here to follow up. Humanoid, yet to use the Unleash power, will unleash it on NG, but NG actually heals up through it. Force of Will knock them back. Good stun with the Cosmic Binding, but really hasn't got too much out of that play.
I think at this point, NG has been taken very low, and more importantly, Labrov low on mana. So he can't actually send the heals to come on through, as Cabochard will get forced away from the tower and maybe gone on.
Cabo's going to flash away. Does have that Haymaker, looking for the shield, but won't need it right now. The Rift is going to charge it and take down the turret. A minute and a half before plays go down. NG's going to get jumped back on, though, and not sure what he's doing going into this fight. Vitality, you're stepping into 4 players. And at a numbers disadvantage, they're going to lose out early on. Milica, though, flashing off the wall, looking to try and get those cards, but here comes Comp, here comes Cabochard, and here come the rest of Vitality. What are you doing? You knew you were at numbers disadvantage. Mad Lions will happily lap up all of the kills you're giving them alongside the charge from the Rift Tower. They may even get another tower here, Ender.
Yeah, quite frankly, a disaster there for Vitality, as again they try to contest on the objectives when they are just outmatched from Mad Lions. Mad Lions playing that one very well. They dropped the Herald down in the bot lane. They put so much damage onto Cabochard, even though they couldn't kill him at the start of that fight. It was enough damage to make it unwinnable, and then Comp TPs right into the face of like 5 people there. So Mad Lions are going to be able to find that one no problem. They don't take the Mountain Drake off of that play, but surely they're going to sprint back onto the map and do it again.
Have another look at this, because the initial play is obvious, right? Shadow's like, Riftode, okay, maybe we catch out Cabochard, but Cabo escapes, and this is where you expect it to stop.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Comp is in top lane, and he's recalling, because he has TP, he's like, I can enter the fight, but we already said Labrov very low on mana, NG super low on HP, so calling in Comp to go for the teleport here when the only good ward is right in the middle of Mad Lions is just perplexing to me. Like, he immediately is going to have to try and pop the E and flash on out of that one, he uses the ultimate rather right there, but it is a grim story for Vitality as they continue to try and match Mad Lions, and Mad Lions are just better than them.
And you wonder if that's some of the rookie nature of the Vitality players coming to the fore just a little bit. You know, like NG, Milica, and Labrov, it's only their 5th game on an LEC stage, so perhaps they just need that little bit more time to adapt and grow, but yeah.
Medic, what does that graph look like to you? Because to me, that is jungle death.
I mean, you were playing a Trundle into the Lee Sin, weren't you, when it was the Yankos?
Oh, Yankos, no, Yankos was playing Silas in that
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm used to my Trundles doing more damage.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I'm sort of harping on Vitality in this one is because this game doesn't have to be a 4K gold lead. Because Vitality decided to get very scrappy with Mad Lions and try to match them every step of the way, it is ballooned out of control for them almost, where Comp has not had time to actively go farm up. He's up 20 CS because he was in a side lane. That could have been more, that could have been turret plates as well. And it's these type of map-making decisions, or map-wide decision-making for Vitality, where they are lacking against our top teams here in the LEC, and where Mad Lions are frankly putting on a much better showing.
And it's that continued growth for Mad Lions that we wanted to see in this season. We saw in spring they were quite one-dimensional in their playstyle. They wouldn't let Orome really be a carry. He was the weak side of the map, and they play around the other side of the map. Here, it has been the Shadow and Humanoid show. They have had a very strong performance early on, but I'm liking the new drafts. I'm liking the new things that we're seeing.
Don't sell Kaiser short either.
Oh, yeah,
He's
Kaiser's
been doing great.
Performance. You're right. When you're right, you're right. And right now, Shadow's looking for the Rift Tower top, but instead they're just going to put down the golden turret, and Cabo will be not long for the Rift. Rift Tower can come down now if Shadow wants it. Meanwhile, Humanoid's trying to win a 2v1, but Comp jumps over him, and Humanoid just deletes Comp. Oh my goodness gracious me, that's a lot of damage.
Can we get that Twitch chat vote back going here? Like, how's Humanoid looking this split?
Or you guys in the 46% that didn't think he was top 3?
Wow.
Whenever a Kaiser ults into his damage, he can kill them. That's what we've learned from that play.
Can they chase down NG? I don't think so. Oh, with a flash, it doesn't matter if you have a speech, right? He's dunked, and now Labrov is gone.
That is a very sad kitty cat as Humanoid takes his 4th kill of the game. Riftode gets a 3rd charge in the top lane. In 16 minutes in, we're 8-0 up. There is an 8,000 gold lead, and Mad are well on their way to the 4th win of the split.
these are the type of dominant victories you really want to see for Mad Lions. Yes, they're playing against Vitality, who, you know, got off to a strong start. We're still trying to see where they settle in the context of the league here, but Mad Lions playing this one very clean, and Humanoid not scared at all. He knows he's in a 2v1, but he could, quite frankly, he couldn't care less. He goes straight back and he walks into them. He's a level 11. He does so much damage right here. Auto attack to finish it off. You love to see it.
Can I just say, you know how we talked about how Yuumi and Kaiser work really well together because you can reposition the final chapter? Don't take it over the person you're trying to stun.
Yeah, you just walk the other direction.
He ults over him. It's like, well, Humanoid's not rooted anymore. Not that a root would really matter that much in that situation. I think Humanoid just uses the ult and gets the kill. Next Dragon up in 2 minutes time here, and I want to have a quick look at where we are in terms of itemization as well. Iceborne Gauntlet finished, Manamune finished. We got the book. We got the best book in the game. Yes. The Medjai's has been complete for Humanoid. Only 8 stacks on it so far, but at 10 it becomes gold efficient, and at 25 it becomes devastating.
25 might come soon if we see Vitality try to contest Mad Lions around this Cloud Drake, but I think they'll wisen up to the fact that things have not been going super well for them. Around that is a flash forward for NG.
NG looking for it, the depth charge comes out as well, but look at how locked out Vitality are. Showstopper coming in and Humanoid goes down. Those 25 stacks are going to have to wait for a little bit longer. Carzzy is jumping across the wall looking for a kill here, but Vitality have been able to escape with only that single kill, but with their lives just as the Sonic Wave doesn't quite hit.
Yeah, Vitality took the window. Orome top lane, no ult, no TP. They get the kill mid, and now they're on to the GP.
Orome's going to flash away, use the bound for the extra movement speed. NG jumped on by Shadow. In my mind, I was thinking perfect game ender, and then Humanoid goes and spoils it all by getting caught out. The graphic we showed earlier did show that he has the second most second tied most isolated deaths in the league.
To be fair, he wasn't isolated there. Cabochard just sort of picked him up and yoinked him away from the rest of his entire team.
Does that count as isolated? I feel like if you've been isolated from the rest of your team.
I'm not going to hate on Humanoid for that death right there. I mean, he's definitely going to feel bad. He lost the Medjai's.
Him, then they depth charged him, then they showstoppered him.
They put a lot into that one, and Mad Lions, he's back onto the map. He's totally fine with that teleport. Still full control around that bottom side of the jungle, and Vitality made a good move right there, but in isolation, it's only going to net you so much. We're going to see it again. All right, Humanoid's up here. It's like my team's sort of behind me. I got Kaiser and Shadow over here. Did not expect that. Cabochard on the flank too. And yeah.
Humanoid played that really well though. The force of will to knock them back into the tempered fate meant that the final chapter wasn't hitting him as well. It was unfortunate that he died. But of course didn't have flash because of the play earlier on as Comp and Labrov tried to kill him. Early on we talked about Halo Blades on Cabochard.
Sure.
We haven't really seen much from the top lane, so I don't feel we can really make a judgment call on that.
Yeah, I'm not really making a judgment call. Again, I think it's like very strong in lane, especially if you're bringing a jungler around, because then you can look for quick burst damage onto the GP. Of course, like it's competing with stuff like, oh, I don't know, like a Conqueror or whatnot. And I think in this game where there's actually a lot of squishy targets for Mad Lions, this could even be perceived as better than that option. Is Vitality once again looking for a pick here? There's a good idea.
Orome doesn't have flash. He's going to put down the cannon barrage.
Humanoid's on the way though.
True shot barrage coming in as well. The tempered fate, but Compass with his head because Humanoid just ults him. Labrov eats a single dark sphere and Humanoid with the enhanced question mark emote.
And Humanoid's back to 8 stacks, so, you know, balance has returned to the force here for him. He's looking good, and now Mad Lions going to be able to start up the Drake. You know, again, it feels like Vitality almost have to go for these picks wherever they can find them, but Mad Lions very quick to rotate that time around. And NG, he doesn't have a flash, he doesn't have a blast cone. This one is all Mad Lions.
Here we go. Is it all Mad Lions? I'm 100% sure Mad Lions are going to get it, but we've seen Ezreal steal Barons already. Carzzy jumps across the wall. The Baron starts resetting. So even though they were able to take the kill, they can't quite get more out of it. Showstopper coming out. Humanoid.
Oh, the Baron!
In the pit. No, the Baron did it. Comp will claim it, but it was all the Baron's work. Shadow's going to go down. Ender, you told me it was all Mad Lions. What happened?
I don't know there. Mad Lions, they tried to jump out of the pit. I don't know if they were tracking summoners or if they were just trying to style on Vitality right there, but it was a good turnaround for Vitality, and now Vitality starting the Baron. I do not think this is advisable. They're going to need to look for the turnaround, and Carzzy and Kaiser are quite low.
Well, last time it was all Mad Lions. We'll see if it can be all Vitality this time. Orome forced away by Cabochard, chunked out just a little bit, but Cabochard is eating those Mystic shots. Here comes the final chapter, though, as Milica jumps in. That's one. Carzzy's on a killing spree, but he's shut down. by Labrov, and they're going to go back towards the Baron. No smite here, remember, the Tempered Fate will slow them for
It's
the
about
second.
to be here.
Smite is on its way as NG's going to use that Blast Cone to get across the wall, just reset on it, Vitality.
Wow.
And Vitality will get it. They killed Carzzy. He was the only real threat who could get into range, who could poke from range. And Vitality will get the Baron at the 22-minute mark.
All right, which one? Okay, we're gonna watch the initial attempt here from Madlines. Again, it's low enough HP and no flash on NG means they could commit to this at 2k HP and get it very easily. They instead say, let's go for the damage, let's get the kill, but Comp teleports in here. Baron, by the way, dealing a lot of damage still, and when Cabochard picks up Humanoid, he flashes into the pit. There's no one here to tank for him, so he is going to go down. Cabochard ends up getting out of that fight as well, and I believe teleports in towards the back end of this. And then Kaiser gets Troll of the Year award. Watch how he sidesteps this dredge line, and Carzzy just eats the entire thing and insta-pops.
Oh, I did not see that.
It's about when Milica comes around, here it comes. Whoop!
Oh no, Kaiser! We praised you! But that, you do see the combo, the final chapter with the dredge line. Like, if Vitality hadn't been so far behind, would have been able to do something. And at this point, the issue is Orome and Kaiser just can't output enough damage to get through Labrov's healing. Right? Labrov also still has exhaust. Now, next steps, Ender, there is a Cloud Dragon in 2 minutes' time. The game is a little bit more even as Humanoid gets jumped on here in the mid lane. He's not able to survive because Vitality get the kill. And Mad Lions are going to keep jumping forward with them. Carzzy, look at Carzzy, he's still alive. Temper Fate's going to come down and Labrov is separated from Comp, but he can walk back into him. Fly forth on the catch. Shadow almost forced away. Labrov's going to eat up some damage, but he eats up a double. Carzzy takes another, takes a third. And now he's looking for a little bit more as NG's going to try and run away in the topside jungle. The final Mystic shot will not connect. But all this does is allow Mad some time to gain control of the Rift once again.
Yeah, Vitality just so cyberbullying Humanoid in this game, but Carzzy comes up clutch towards the end of that one. It was actually a 5v4. Cabochard was down in towards the bottom side of the map, even though now he tries to chase down Shadow up towards the top. Yeah, we'll see this again, because Milica just doesn't really care. As soon as he sees Humanoid and he sees that window for the dredge line, he hits the wall, to be fair, but he gets in range. Comp then can enter into the fight, but even before he goes down, Humanoid takes Comp down to 50% HP. Milica getting battered over the wall gets destroyed as well, and this ultimate forces Labrov back towards Carzzy. And then he also hops out, which is a little bit strange here. He's, of course, trying to soak damage from Comp, but the auto attack still follows the Yuumi, even when she tries to hop back in towards that Kaiser. And yeah, now it's going to be 3-item Ezreal, and he's going to be pretty unbeatable.
You know what this says to me, Ender?
What does it say?
80 carry difference.
Yeah. Better bot wins, I think.
It's jungle diff, you know. NG did almost twice as much damage as Shadow in that last fight.
Well, Vitality's plan will continue to be to look for these picks and kill Humanoid at the start, because again, Humanoid does a lot of damage. The problem is now that Carzzy is so ginormous that they also need to kill him, and Mad Lions have the opportunity to peel back towards this Cloud Soul that's just about spawning.
I think they're already doing it. Pretty sure they are. Vitality's going to have to try and step in to hit this, but the Cloud has been started up. Shadow's going to jump on towards it. NG does not have flash, and there is a
Comp has 3 items. He's real strong.
3 items. He's looking for it. The Cloud Sword is already going to go down 2 Mad Lions, and the Temper Fate will Cabochard, but Comp jumps onto the back line, and already Humanoid is down. Comp able to survive. Cabochard going in with the showstopper as well. Now Mad maybe going to get claimed up from the river. They have the Cloud Sword, but do they have the damage to kill Comp? Comp almost down. Carzzy dodging in and out of the bush, dodging in and out of vision, and NG's the next to fall. And now Comp is separated from his favorite pet Cap, but the Cat will jump back in and get the zoomies and get them away for the moment. Blast Cone will help them out as well. Carzzy could continue to chase if he wants, but instead he will back away. Cloud Soul and 2 kills over to Matt.
Yeah, Mad Lions there. I mean, that was a really cool duel between the 2 ADCs with Comp flying in to kill off Humanoid, but at the end of the day, it is still Carzzy coming out on top in that one, and Mad Lions run away with the Cloud Soul 2 here.
These fights are closer than they should be for a 9,000 gold difference.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Vitality were able to gain so much back via the picks and then that Baron buff. You see the knock-up from the Nautilus that allows Comp to fly in towards the backline, instantly blows up Humanoid because he gets the isolated Acathian Rain, and Cabochard lines up 4 people for the Haymaker there too, which almost ends up being the difference, but Carzzy's damage onto Comp forces him back. Now Comp can't step forward to trade auto attacks anymore, and as soon as that option is gone for Vitality, they have to run for the hills.
I also really like Carzzy dodging in and out of the bush there, because of course Kaiser only has the W for poke if she doesn't have sight, right? Ezreal can pop out Mystic shots all the time, but Kaiser needs to see you to get the Acathian range, to get the auto attacks down. And you can see, once again, Carzzy topping the damage charts, but Cabochard had such a performance in that last fight.
Yeah, that was a really good fight from him. Still odds very much stacked against Vitality, but the gold is in the right places when you consider the comp is going to be trying to work towards that Rabadon's death cap as soon as he possibly can. Looking at some items too, Orome has gone for the Haunting Guise himself. So this again, we saw on Ezreal in last game, but about stacking that Madness passive, but here goes Cabo.
Showstopper going in, they're trying to catch out Humanoid. He is rooted up, but the Tempered Fate is beautiful. Milica does have the flank. Cabochard gonna get some damage down as Humanoid's already gonna fall. And now Comp's gonna try and open up. Milica has the flank position, looking for Carzzy, sorry, but he can't quite find him. And now Carzzy is gonna be able to jump back in. Stopwatch used, Comp's still alive here, but Milica is getting jumped on by the remaining members of Mad. And now Comp is the next target. Cabochard was trying to get away. Comp just about able to survive on the back of it, and Cabochard takes down Orome. And now it's Comp trying to survive, trying to get away with Labrov. They will not be able to save the inhibitor, but I think Comp escaping means they can save the game.
Yeah, no minions here means Mad Lions will end up backing away. They don't even go for the inhibitor because they want to be ready for just the second that this Baron buff does spawn. NG will be alive in time, but critically no flash here. Shadow needs to pop that blast cone, and then they can get to work on this objective.
Okay, we're going to take a second. I'm going to take a breath.
The blast cone! Hit the blast cone!
He didn't hit the blast cone, but here comes Humanoid. Humanoid can hit the blast cone, as long as someone does it. Maybe using the blast cone as the bait, but Comp does find him out with the Void Seeker, and now...
It's NG's only way into the pit, and now he actually has an option before the flash comes
but they catch him! Oh, Tempered Fate Unleashed Power was blocked by the Tempered Fate, but Comp is going to get caught out. He tries to get around with the Killer Instinct. He's still alive! Not back with the Dragon's Rage, but Comp does not manage to survive, and that's it. It's done, Mad Lions. Finally able to find the Kaiser, finally able to find the fight, and that should be the game.
Kaiser with the beautiful ultimate there to catch out Comp, and Humanoid delivers the final blow on him there too. After getting picked off so many times, Mad Lions will finally tidy things up and look to close this one out. Cabochard standing in their way.
Oh, Kaiser might die here. The Showstopper comes out, looking for the Haymaker as well, but Kaiser able to take the magical journey away, and Humanoid will get the kill. It was a much rougher road than it should have been for Mad Lions. They should have closed this one out pretty easily, maybe a little bit too eager to take some fights. Maybe Vitality were too strong in pushing them back. But in the end, Mad will take the win. And with it, they will have a 4-game winning streak.